discussion that we were supposed to have is around the role of rural women technicians. And I would expand that definition more just from technicians to entrepreneurs, technicians, and experts in to achieve the global, the Indian target, energy target for 2030. So on this bit, we have to look at the complete scenario of how we would be achieving the energy target that has been set by the government, which is a very ambitious one. And India is one of the forefronts who have been able to commit such a target. Keeping in mind that the population of India is 1.7 billion, and our contribution to the carbon production is substantially low when compared to the other countries. And we do have our challenges around the per capita energy consumption also that our country is right now registering, which is around 1/11 of what US does. And even if we come closer to our neighbor China, it's still 1/4. And we do know that that has to increase, right, for us to really have good quality of life and standard of living improvement. So having said that, what I feel the challenges here and how women from rural India can be a part of it is by we have to look at the needs of the country and where it's being consumed the most. And if we look at the whole demography of India, we still have around 60% of our population living in the rural areas. And when we take up such bold steps towards moving from traditional energy to renewable energy, we do have to consider that the concentration should not go into the cities and hamper the growth in the rural areas. So this time around, what we have seen and what we are trying to do is also that to focus this more from the rural perspective and to get this right for the first time. Because if we try to get this target, it should not happen that because of the inequality that is already there in the country, it should not happen. The figure that I talked about, the per capita, which is around 1.6, it should not happen that that hampers the growth of the rural population even more. So one thing that we have to understand is that in rural areas, women are the primary energy consumer and controllers of the family. With that, what I mean is that if you consider cooking as one of the main activities, it's mostly women who collect the firewood, and it is used for heating and cooking and all of those other aspects. And that is one of the major contributors to carbon. Apart from that, it has health issues as well. So what I feel is that how do we engage women into first creating awareness and then be able to generate this kind of energy requirements of the rural areas. And because the primary consumers are women, I feel that it is a good place to start with. And also because the health concerns are most towards them. And with energy comes economic prosperity. And hence, it is very essential that when we are starting this drive towards shifting to clean energy, it has to first start from the rural areas. And second, it has to start from women in these areas. And I feel that women, and from our experience of working in the rural areas, we have seen that women are much better at conserving energy as well. Because as I said, as they are the primary users, it requires a lot of efforts from their side to basically get that energy into their household. So hence, if we start with working with them, we would be able to at least minimize the usage of energy, and make them understand the importance of how renewable energy works. And when we work on the rural setup, it is there are a lot of opportunities that are there. Like, if you look at the rural setup, good energy access is one of the top criterias for having economic prosperity. And there is so much of requirement in rural areas which are not met at this point of a time. And even if you look at independent studies, there are around 50 million households which do not have grid electricity, or are dependent on off-grid solutions. And that is because of multiple reasons. One is the geography of the country, and it is always not possible to get grid over into these areas, and it will take quite a bit of time for grid to reach there. So that is where I feel that renewable energy, and especially if you consider solar, is an aspect that can play a pivotal role, because the communities need consistent and quality energy. And for that, we have off-grid solutions. Now the challenge around it is, how do you make it consistent, right? If the benefit of grids and all of those things in cities, and how cities have improved, is because of having that consistent electricity. Now in rural areas, if we go ahead and if we go into this off-grid solutions, it is important that we make sure that these solutions are consistent and it is quality energy. And hence, that is where I feel that if we train women in all these locations, and involve them into the maintenance and generation of this electricity, it will solve two problems that we have. One is that we will have services and available in these off-grid places, so that they get quality energy. And also we are involving in this whole process of shifting people from traditional to renewable energy. We are involving women into it, who are the primary consumers of it. So it's not just that the grid situation will improve, it is also that the psychological impact and the other ripple effects that will happen, because we are focusing on women, will also improve our chances of reaching those targets earlier. So broadly, our take on this has been that it's a good target the country has set. We have to learn from our past mistakes of development. And the third is that we have to do it the right way this time, focusing on the majority of the population which would be affected when such kind of a change takes place, to put in checks and balances in place so that the inequality doesn't increase, and to improve and to involve the biggest demography, which is the women, who will be the real change makers around this aspect, and who are affected the most because of lack of clean energy in these sectors. So that is why there have been a lot of programs that a lot of organizations have been doing. The government is also investing a lot on skilling of people around clean energy, and focusing more on women. The challenge there, and what needs to improve, is that we have to first demystify that training aspect of all these places, all these programs that are being run by government and other institutes. We have to really cater to the rural women and informal people with informal background. How can we make these trainings accessible to them? And how can we simplify these trainings so that they get the essence of it and they are able to manage their system on their own? These are the two challenges which we face when we talk about getting rural women technicians or entrepreneurs into involved in reaching India's energy target. And something else that we have also learned is that when you talk about mm, these solar solutions, you have to also consider that how does it benefit the women in these areas? It is one thing to get them trained, but after getting the training, how does it really benefit them on a longer run? That has been another challenge. With longer run, what I mean is how do we provide sustainable livelihood for them as well, right? Because they are already involved in informal economy, and for them to shift and take up a responsibility like this after their training has to come with some kind of an economic benefit as well, which is the hard truth about the situation. So uh, what we have to look at is that how do we not just train them for technicians, but also help them become entrepreneurs. And for them to become solar entrepreneurs or our star change makers towards clean energy, we have to provide them enough incentives, and we have to set up the whole ecology around it in such a way that it benefits and gives them sustainable livelihood. One of the problems in doing this in rural areas is about getting enough credit to run an enterprise. And because the lending patterns and the interest rates are high, it a lot of time, even when we have energetic women leaders who want to run an enterprise on something like solar energy, they don't have enough capital to sustain that business. And hence that is somewhere that Barefoot College International is also working with government, that how can we get these credit lines to the women so that they can run that enterprise, and actually we can start the change from ground up to meet this target. And this philosophy comes from what our thought always has been around Gandhiji's saying of Gram Swaraj. So I feel that because this is a substantial shift that the whole world is taking, and India has taken such a bold step, this time we should do it the other way around. Let's start from the rural areas, and let's start with the women who have traditionally been behind in the development path in India. So that is how we see the bit around it.